Well, shit. I hope we were live on Facebook. Fuck yeah.
Colin fucked up. Why are there no spiders in Castle Dracula?
Why does the doctor believe in monsters?
Why would anybody go to an opera?
Why is that guy with the weird accent staring at me? Damn it.
Find out all this and more on hopefully a better
Episode than intro on Gory Storytime.
And
we're live.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig.
And this episode's already going great.
It is. This week, we're continuing our October classic black and white Universal Monster reviews. Yeah, we usually try, not all the time, but we'll pick 4 movies, for those who don't know, in a row that have some sort of theme, in a sub-theme in the horror genre.
And the theme from this series of us doing them
is the classic.
Our 30s.
Well, no, the Wolfman was 40 or 41. Yeah. But I mean, we have a picture of Frankenstein there. Like, we eventually have to get to that one, you know?
Right.
But we did the Wolfman, and now, of course, the king of the monsters, as far as the classic monsters, isn't Godzilla. It's Dracula.
Oh, it absolutely is.
For those who have never heard of this character, the basic story goes something like this. There's a vampire. He sucks blood and kills people.
And is scared of Jesus.
Yeah, he's afraid of things like holy water and
crosses.
Yeah.
And he has a castle.
I mean, seriously, if you're watching this and you haven't heard of vampires, why are you watching a horror movie review show? How's that?
More like, why are you?
Well, maybe they want to learn. I apologize. Or maybe, I don't know.
Maybe they saw our awesome cold open.
Yes.
And decided to just watch.
With an assist from Colin Kimball.
Oh, yeah. Shout out.
But I guess the closest thing to a trailer that could be found is what should be rolled now.
I am Dracula. A moment ago, I stumbled upon a most amazing phenomenon. Something so incredible, I mistrust my own judgment. Look.
Dracula. The very mention of the name brings to mind things so evil, so fantastic, so degrading. You wonder if it isn't all a dream, a nightmare.
Rats. Thousands. Millions of them.
But no, this is no dream. This is Dracula, the original terrifying story of a maniac and a man who lived after death, lived on human blood, took the form of a vampire bat, and lured innocent girls to a fate truly worse than death.
Dracula? Oh, what's he done to you, dear? Tell me.
He came to me. He opened a vein in his arm, and he made me drink.
Welcome back to the Overacting Academy. I mean, Gory Story Time. Wow. It's like, oh, like just so much overacting. But it was 1930 something.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the behind the scenes information about this classic movie, though, we have to give a shout out to our sponsors because, you know, we can't just do this show for free.
No.
We got to get paid. And this is how we get paid, by advertising things you've never heard before for piles of money and never hear from them again. For some reason, none of them ever come back.
Nope.
But anyway, this week, Gory Story Time is brought to you by the Sleep Number Casket from Vladco. Just because you're an evil, bloodthirsty vampire doesn't mean you don't deserve to rest well as you sleep the day away. That's why Vladco designed the first casket with your comfort in mind. We use 5 inches of memory foam on an adjustable base so you don't toss and turn until sundown. So, when you've got a night coming up and the stakes are high, make sure you sleep like the dead on a Sleep Number Casket from Vladco.
You know, that seems brilliant. I'd use one. And buy the new book, How to Hypnotize... I knew it was coming, and here I am stumbling anyways. New book, How to Hypnotize Women for Fun and Profit. That's enough.
Keep reading.
Are you a catch but the gals don't notice you? Does Tinder leave you swiping yourself? Oh. Oh my. Well, well, that is all behind you with How to Hypnotize Women for Fun and Profit. Oh, God. Oh. Why go through the long process of getting to know her or being entertaining when you can oh my goodness. If you order with code GST in the referral box, you also receive a certificate stating that you aren't a desperate loser. That's How to Hypnotize Women for Fun and Profit. Because if you can't fulfill her needs, just make her forget that she has any. Oh, goodness.
I'm not laughing at the ad because that was obviously a serious thing. I'm laughing at you having a hard time reading. Yes, that's it. All right, now time to get into the...
meat and beef of the show.
I was going to say the blood and gore of the show, or at least the blood part. Let's see. The original release featured an epilogue with Edward Van Sloan talking to the audience about what they had just seen. Which, by the way, really?
Why?
It'd be like if Stan Lee came out at the end of every Marvel movie and was like, listen, in case you didn't understand what you just watched. Anyway, this was removed for the 1936 re-release and is now assumed to be lost. The later Frankenstein from 1931 similarly copied this model by featuring a prologue.
Dracula's castle was a painting on glass in front of the camera. The coach traveling along the road was real, but the background was not.
Yeah, I could tell. Bela Lugosi was so eager to repeat his stage success and play the Count Dracula. Okay, it should be play the Count or play Count Dracula. Whoever wrote this is bad at the English language.
Yeah.
But play Count Dracula for the film version, that he agreed to a contract paying him $500 a week for a 7-week shooting schedule, an insultingly small amount even during the days of the Depression. In fact, his salary was only 1/4 of the actor who played Harker. Wow.
When Bela Lugosi died in 1956, he was buried wearing one of his many black silk capes, but not the one he wore in Dracula. That one was put on auction by his son, Bela Lugosi Jr. In 2011, the starting bid being set at $1,200,000. It failed to sell, and so the cape is believed to still be in the son's possession. There is also a persisting yet untrue rumor that it was Lugosi's dying wish when, in fact, it was decided by his son and his mother, Lugosi's ex-wife, Lillian Arch.
Okay. While it was rumored that Bela Lugosi could not speak English very well and had to learn his lines phonetically, this is not true. Lugosi was speaking English as well as he ever would by the time this was filmed. That doesn't mean... It's like, he never spoke better English than this. That doesn't mean he's good.
No. Spanish version of Dracula was filmed at night on the same set as the same time with Spanish-speaking actors. So
That
if we had
version-
watched the other version, it was literally an entirely different
Cast,
movie.
except-
Right.
no,
It was the same
same
movie, but like an entirely different...
cast, except for Bela Lugosi.
That's cool, actually.
Yeah. I didn't realize that he was Spanish. I'm assuming that's why it was in Spanish.
That works, yeah,
But
I don't know.
But in The Wolfman, he played the gypsy, so like he had a thick accent either way, you know. Where are we? In the scene where Dracula and Renfield are traveling on a boat to London, the footage shown is borrowed from a Universal silent film called The Stormbreaker. Silent films were projected at a different frame per second speed, and from that of sound films, which accounts for the jerky movements and quicker than normal action of these shots.
Among the living creatures we see in Dracula's castle in Transylvania are possums, armadillos, and an insect known as a Jerusalem cricket. Stenop.
You don't need to
whatever.
give the genus.
The insect was common in Southern California, which may explain its cameo in the film. The inclusion of armadillos was due to the fact that armadillos had occasionally been seen digging in graveyards, which led to the mistaken belief that they would dig their way into coffins and eat the cadavers.
There was no real musical soundtrack for the film because it was believed that, with sound being such a recent innovation for films, the audience would not accept hearing music in a scene if there was no explanation for it being there. Example, an orchestra playing off camera when Dracula meets Mina at the theater.
Cinematographer Carl Freund achieved the effect of Dracula's hypnotic stare by aiming two pencil spotlights into actor Bela Lugosi's eyes.
This was the 6th most popular movie at the U.S. box office for 1931. Of course, there were 7 movies.
Right, like the spiderwebs in Dracula's castle were created by shooting rubber cement from a rotary gun.
All right. Although it was his most famous role, Bela Lugosi played Dracula only once more on screen in the comedy Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. However, he played Dracula-like characters in movies such as The Return of the Vampire.
That's weird. When she died on June 12th, 2014, at the age of 104, wow, Carl
Lamely or something like
Lamely was the last surviving cast member of this film. She played the role of the ungainage coach passenger reading the history of Transylvania aloud. She rightly claimed that she was not the first woman in talking.
That she was the first one.
Was the first
Often associated with Dracula are not in this film. At no point does he show fangs. Also, the famous vampire bite mark on the neck is never shown, although twice characters examine the victims' necks and talk about the marks.
The large, expansive sets built for the Transylvania Castle and Carfax Abbey sequences remained standing after filming was completed and were used by Universal Pictures for many other movies for over a decade.
The original Broadway production of Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, opened at the Fulton Theater on October 5th, 1927, and ran for 261 performances. Also in the original cast was Edward Van Sloan as Van Helsing and Herbert Bunston as Dr. Seward. These three were the only actors from the original Broadway production that repeated their roles in the film.
The opening music to this film is from Act 2 of Swan Lake.
It was a sample. Just
It's
to
whatever, I don't
update
know.
the reference. In the first scene, the young woman reading from the tourist book was played by Carla Laemmle, niece of Carl Laemmle, founder of the head of Universal Pictures. Well, that's how she got.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Before he was cast as Count Dracula, Bela Lugosi acted as an unpaid intermediary for Universal Pictures in negotiating with the widow of author Bram Stoker in an attempt to persuade her to lower her asking price for the filming rights to the Dracula property. After 2 months of negotiations, Mr. Stoker reportedly lowered her price from $200,000 to $60,000. This, however, further demonstrated to Universal how eager Lugosi was to repeat his stage success as Count Dracula and secure the role for himself.
Now, the Rotten Tomatoes score from the people is at an 82%.
And the critics have it at a 91%.
Both very good scores.
Yes.
Anything you want to say before we get into our favorite scene, least favorite scene stuff? Anything that we kind of missed that?
I mean, definitely go watch this.
Okay, what I'm gonna say I'm gonna just jump in with my least favorite scene first.
Okay.
My least favorite scene was probably the. It's kind of hard because I really like this movie. I guess it's the fact that, God, I really don't know. Like, I really like this movie. There's not like a really bad scene. The music fits the time period. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. A least favorite scene.
If you want, I can go first.
Yeah,
with my least
go
favorite.
ahead.
And
Well,
you can think about it.
Yeah, so we don't. waste too
My
much time.
least favorite scene was, it wasn't necessarily a scene, but it stood out to me with the first guy that he had bit
Yeah.
was just acting. It didn't seem right because he was acting different than the other people that he had bit. Like he was just all nuts and acting like he was this all powerful special master of all, and the lady didn't do anything like that. She was just a little creepy, but she wasn't
The first person he bit was Renfro, the one that went nuts and started eating spiders and flies. That was the guy that. Yeah.
Okay, maybe not him. Maybe
He
I don't
just
know.
went insane.
Yeah, okay.
But he basically was his pet. He was like, you will do all these things for me. But he wasn't.
And it was. That's
difference is-
really nitpicky.
The difference is, do you remember that she had said he had her drink his blood? That's the difference. He drank Renfro's blood.
She drank Dracula's.
He drank some of hers, and the transfer is how she was going to become one of his brides. You see?
Okay.
Anyway, I guess my least favorite thing is just that. God bless it. I know. I just had something in my head, I guess, but I can't remember what it was. I guess that it wasn't a little longer to explain some of the jumps in story. It's
Oh yeah.
the guy shows up to help him with purchasing a place, and then next time you see the guy, he's crazy and has been bit, but you don't really see
Much of him.
transforming into that I don't know. It kind of just goes, well, obviously if you're watching this movie you've read the book, so we don't have to fill this in for the film goers, and now we live in a day and age where people will go, but how did it get from point A to point C? Where's point B? You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's
I
being
get that.
nitpicky because what was your favorite scene?
Favorite scene was more of a favorite inclusion, which was I always like it when a character in any movie, whether they're a vampire or not, sleeps in a coffin. And I just really thought the way they did it in this was cool.
What movies that don't involve vampires do people just sleep in coffins?
Not many.
Like, what the hell are you talking about?
I mean, the 2003
you remember
Daredevil, Ben Affleck slept in a coffin, which was the cool part of that movie to me. But, hey, he was like a vampire in that. He sucked.
Are you done? You've disappointed me by even bringing up the movie Daredevil on a show where we review good movies. Anyway.
Not always.
Well, that's true. That's true. Good genre. But comic book movies is a good genre too. That one just, ugh. Okay. My favorite scene is, well, I'll just say my favorite thing is the humor that they threw in. Because it actually still works. From 1931, you know, it's like, who could have done it? And then, you know, he enters the room and so the next thing someone goes, Count Dracula. And it's like, you know, there was just so many like, now that's been way overdone where it's like, who did it? And then the person walks in and someone in that.
But
this is where it started.
Right. When
You know
we
what I
were
mean?
watching it, it wasn't like this has been overplayed. It's this
is
was
the
overplayed
first
because
time.
of this.
Yeah. And the guy that like had control of the keys to the cell for the nut house.
Comedy
I
into
hate
the
it when
horror.
they don't put humor in the comedy. Those are called Medea movies. Anyway.
Got the 2-minute mark.
All right. So, what do you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm gonna have to give it a 9.
You know what? I'm gonna give it a 9 too. Even though I love
liked
the
this.
Wolfman, I love the Wolfman. Werewolves are my favorite characters. I think this was a better movie.
Oh yeah,
I like
this
the werewolf
much
character creature better. This is a better film,
Yes,
even with the overacting.
absolutely. Because it was just way over the top in the other one.
But-
So, on that side of the screen, as always, you can watch this show on Fact TV Channel 8, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
You can email us at gorystorytime@yahoo.com.
You can like us on Facebook.
And you can like Fact TV on Facebook. And if you're watching this live with the interesting intro,
Hi. You can watch a bunch of back episodes on www.fact8.com.
And you can also check out my YouTube, which has some episodes. It has our 100th episode spectacular, music videos, sketches, etc., etc. It's just look up Juggalo Jakes, all one word, on YouTube.
We've both got Twitters. I'm at Jason T. Jakes, capital J, capital T, capital J.
I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase. And we don't really talk much about this.
No.
I attack political people that I'm not a fan of. And just as a little bonus, tomorrow, not as you're seeing this, but tomorrow we're going to go to a horror convention and hopefully we'll get some
Pictures, and the Gory Storytime page will be posting pictures
Yes,
of horror stuff that we do tomorrow.
absolutely. So until
Next
week.
time, I'm your host, Jason.